Blog Talk Radio.
Recruiting Animal here on March 4th, March 4th, 2020. Have you ever heard the phrase, how the mighty have fallen? Well, I'm going to give you an example right now to prove that it's true. Jack Welch, remember him, the CEO from GE? He died this week, right? And he used to be the number one superstar CEO. Jack Welch, he's the greatest. But this week, in the obituaries, almost no one had a good word to say about him. A big shot headhunter who knew him tried his best, but I don't know if he succeeded. Here's what he said. I never met a practitioner more committed to making great people decisions than Jack was. When I spoke with him, he emphasized that effective hiring was brutally hard. Those are his words, brutally hard. He estimated that as a young manager, he had a hit rate of only 50%, but that 30 years later, as a CEO, he'd make a great selection 4 times out of 5. Okay, now listen what follows. Of course, Jack has been criticized for the choice of his successor as CEO, Jeff Immelt, under whom the company lost many billions of dollars. Yeah, that's quite the endorsement. End of quote. That's quite the endorsement, isn't it? If you urged a company to hire your candidate and she lost them billions, billions of dollars, would you go around bragging about it, giving people advice about how good you are at hiring? I don't think so. But if you got guts and you want to do it, call in right now to Jerry.
The Recruiting Animal
Got that from Oprah, I guess. You know, I'm never a fan, but I think she did that. Anyway, I want to also thank my sponsors, PCRecruiter.net, the Swiss Army knife of recruiting software. It's very versatile. HireTool, HireTual, the super-duper sourcing tool. And finally, Honeit, HONEIT.com, the online interview recording technology. The last guest who was here raved about it, absolutely. But I got to warn my sponsors about something. Someone else inquired about sponsoring the show, so they wanted to know my statistics. I said, you know, there's not a lot of listeners, but I sent them actually a graph to prove my point. And the woman who had approached me, she said, you're right. We want a show that has a lot more listeners than you do. But I'd really like to know, what show was that? I mean, what recruiting shows are really popular that are drawing in thousands of listeners every week? Mike Rasmussen, our guest today. Do you know what's the most popular recruiting show?
The Recruiting Animal Show is one of the most popular.
Yeah, for you it is. You're a return visitor, but does anybody else who's online know which show just, draws in tons and tons of people? Anybody? No? Okay.
I don't know the numbers on all the others, so couldn't tell you what their numbers would be.
Which other shows do you listen to? Oh, what about Chad and Cheese? Or what's is it?
Love that show, Chad and Cheese podcast. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Oh, okay.
But
so I bet you they get more.
It's
they
awesome.
Get more. Because you know what? But they're focused on technology and job boards and stuff. It's a different kind of show.
And
Am I
HR.
right?
Yeah.
HR. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Michael G. Cox. Thank you. MikeRecruiter.com. Okay. Mike Rasmussen. Your Twitter address is MikeR101 at MikeR101. Are you still having on-site interviews?
I actually changed it. It's MR_recruits these days.
MR. Well, you still got the old one there too, don't you?
No, it's just MR_recruits. That's my new one.
Recruits. Okay. Well, you should change it on LinkedIn too. Okay. Under your contacts on LinkedIn.
I'll check it.
Get real.
I'll double check it to make sure.
Don't double check it. Just change it. Okay.
I will change
I got to tell you something, Michael G. Cox, Mike Recruiter. When they started their show, Chad and Cheese, in 2008, okay, they advertised, and I have it in writing, that they weren't going to be like the Recruiting Animal Show. No craziness, okay? They didn't last very long. They revived a year or two ago, and they call themselves, what is it called? The Wildest Show or the Craziest Show, something like that. Well, we're not going to be crazy like the Recruiting Animal. Now they're crazy. Okay, I just want to make a point.
You're a trendsetter, man.
Yeah, right. But the copycats leave me behind. I'm not. What can I say? Okay, maybe I'm the trendsetter, but I'm not the best. Maybe that's true. Okay. What time did you go to bed last night, Mike? Fast. Answer.
You talking to me or the other Mike?
Oh, you. Mike Rasmussen, the guest, Mike Rasmussen.
The guest.
Last night I went to bed at 11.
When did you wake up this morning?
7:15.
And what kind of coffee do you drink?
Well, I had a Red Bull.
Oh, really? Oh, does that help in the morning?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
really?
Good.
Anybody else indulge in those energy drinks? Anybody else online want to talk about that?
No.
Okay.
I use those when I'm driving long distances.
It's Jerry. It's a good thing you didn't come before the show started, Jer. Okay, thanks.
Why?
Thank you. That's just saying. Okay, why should you be on
sarcasm?
time? Yeah. No, God forbid. Me sarcastic? No way. Okay.
I've been working with a company that's actually in Taiwan, so it's kind of messed up my whole schedule, being able to talk to them and follow up and correspond. I'm 12 hours off.
Yeah, it's always something, okay? I know you've got a good reason. Yeah, you're just a big shot. You're too big for me, okay? Okay, look.
Yeah,
okay, Mike Rasmussen, are you still having on-site interviews, or has the coronavirus, wiped that out?
We are still having on-site interviews for local candidates, yes.
All right. And what about, do you wear a face mask to the meetings, to the interviews?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay, what about
Not
this?
yet.
And I didn't make this up, okay, but you consider yourself a good recruiter. Am I right about that?
Sure, yeah, I would say that.
You're getting paid to do it for many years already, so let's say you must be okay. Do you believe that you could use your recruiting skills to be a good matchmaker for marriages? Could someone hire you to go out and find a husband or wife? Do you think you have the ability to do that? Do you know how to identify people, and you know how to interview them and fit one person to a team or another person? What about that? Could you be a matchmaker?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every recruiter is a matchmaker.
Hold on, but you would take that into your hands. It's a little, making someone move from one job to another. That's a big life decision. But actually, hooking up with somebody for life, presumably, you would actually have the guts to take responsibility for that?
Sure. There's actually a guy out there who's advertising that, and he'll pay you $10,000. I guess I saw this on a social post somewhere. Some guy was paying $10,000 to have people match a wife up to him.
Well, hasn't he ever heard of Tinder? Okay, look. Okay, but wouldn't that be if you're interviewing somebody for a recruiting job in a corporation or an agency, wouldn't that be a decent question to ask you? Do you feel so confident of your skills that you'd be able to, confidently match husbands and wives? Do you think that's a decent question?
I think that could be. Sure. I mean,
Jerry,
you could use
Jerry, you still here? Well, Jerry, what do you think?
I think
it's a fair question. Yeah, sure, why not?
This is getting stupid.
You think it's stupid? Well, okay, I wanted to be a bit offbeat. Yeah.
The simple answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
Yeah,
I
use it as a
shouldn't say
hypothetical.
stupid.
You could use it as a behavioral interview question, I guess.
Yeah.
The behavior interview means they've done it before. You mean a hypothetical. MikeRecruiter.com. What do you think? What do you think?
No.
I don't think it's a crazy question.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
Right.
Adam Karpiak is a recruiter, an agency recruiter. He got mentioned in an article this week for his great LinkedIn profile, and here's what they praised. He said, recruiter Adam Karpiak uses his LinkedIn headline to ask, and there's two quotes, want me to review or edit your resume? And his other one is, need some candidate therapy? What do you think of that? I'll tell you what I think, first of all. I wouldn't want people out of the blue contacting me to waste my time to work on their resume or console them when they're doing a job search. It's not my business. And this guy, Adam Karpiak, he's very funny. He's always posting on Twitter about how people call him to pick his brain, for free. Okay, and how he doesn't like it. And I was shocked to see this in his headline. What do you think, Mike Rasmussen? Would you put that in your headline? You got a problem? Call me up.
What happens when employees behave badly? Boy, we could do an entire TV show, maybe a Netflix special on that. Well, Ryan and I sat down and recorded episodes for Pharma, and we asked practitioners, give us your most outrageous story. The sales leader that brings cocaine to work, whatever. Just bring us the outrageous, and it is funny. So if you need a laugh, which we all do from time to time, search for Workplace Misconduct wherever you get your podcast, and you'll find it. And trust me, you will laugh and cry, but you'll definitely laugh. All right. Thank you.
I don't know if I'd put that in my headline per se, but if it helps him, great.
Okay, you're so non-committal. Let's go to Jerry. Jerry, what do you think? I know $375 an hour you do it. Is that the right answer?
I think not as many people are looking at our LinkedIn headlines as we think, other than other recruiters. Adam Karpiak's a funny guy, but is he making placements?
Yeah, I assume.
He sure has a lot of time to be running the comedy club on the LinkedIn street.
Want me to review or edit your resume? MikeRecruiter.com. What do you think? Is that good?
If it's working for him and if he's making placements, cool.
Okay. What about? We don't know the answer to that. Okay. What about in the abstract? Would you use something like that to draw people to you?
Probably not.
No. Okay.
Maybe
that's a no. That's a no. Anybody else want to comment? I don't want aimless people, lost souls, calling me. Does anybody else agree with me?
Nobody's calling him about that.
Okay.
Seriously. Nobody's calling.
Okay, Jerry,
maybe
I got another.
Or two.
I got another real life issue. You're going to say it's stupid, okay? Has this ever happened to you, Mike Rasmussen? Okay, this is a quote from a Facebook posting. I had a candidate think it was a good idea to start discussing climate change and the current election cycle during a phone screen. Okay, does that ever happen to you when they talk about irrelevant things?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Well, really? How does it? Well, do you start up the conversation, or do they just bring it up out of nowhere? How does that happen?
Well, they bring it up sometimes when you're in the conversation with them, but then if they do that and they're not staying on topic, you have to steer them back to the topic. So it does happen.
Okay, hold on a second. Then let's move straight to interview prep from there. Would you say, listen, Bill, or listen, Sally, these are interesting issues, but do not bring them up if I send you out for an interview, okay? Don't be an idiot, okay? Do you tell them that?
I wouldn't call him an idiot. I'd probably use a more tactful language.
Would you warn them? Okay, look, I'm saying I'm not sending you to be a climatologist or a political commentator.
Not a good idea to bring that up in an interview. Stay on topic.
Oh, so you would tell them. So you said they do this all the time. You tell them. Do you stop them and say, listen, candidate, okay, I want to warn you about something. Do you do that?
Yeah, I would if they were a good fit for my job. If they weren't a good fit, then I'd stop the conversation.
You don't care. Okay.
And
yeah,
politely
that's
end
what I'm asking.
Animal, if you think that you're going to stop some rabid, nut job, wacko, political freak junkie from being who they are, you're wrong. You're wrong. These people forget everything you tell them about how to interview and what to say, what to ask, 5 minutes after you tell them. I gave up on all that crap years ago. My ratios and numbers look better after not loading them down with a bunch of crap and trying to change who they are. Somebody wants to go off on politics, I probably just wouldn't even call them back. They're a nut.
So but hold on, Jerry. You're saying you don't waste any time on interview prep. Is that what you're saying, Jerry?
Beyond giving the address and a little bit about what the job is, that is correct. Yeah, interview preps are an absolute waste of time.
Really? There's some people spend like an hour on interview prep.
Yeah, they're wasting their time.
I waste a little bit of time.
That's a fact. Couple of 3 minutes.
I waste a little bit of time on that. If it's a waste of time, I'm not wasting an hour on it, though.
Hold on.
Going through psychological approaches to connecting with managers and how to, all that stuff, and how to talk about salary and what to say, and whoever answers the question first loses, and all that stuff. It's all a bunch of hooey because they don't remember most of it anyway, and you've only confused them. But that's the scoop.
Okay. But Mike,
right, I gotta go. I'll call you back at 12:35.
Okay, see ya. Okay, Mike Rasmussen, you kind of let Jerry take control there. You're saying I don't waste that much time, but you actually do interview prep. Am I right about that?
Yep, I do.
What's involved?
In my role as a corporate recruiter, that helps. And many times it's good for them to understand a little bit about the environment they're getting into. So that's really the main thing. But I don't spend you don't want to spend tons and tons of time on that because then you waste time. But just enough to get them so they're ready to go.
MikeRecruiter.com, do you do interview prep?
Yes, I do. I'd say maybe it's a 10, 15-minute conversation at most where I'm reiterating, hey, just to remind you, this is what the job is about. This is what's most important. You covered these things during one of our initial conversations. You should probably stick to these things or highlight this experience or this expertise that you have. But I'm not going to try and manufacture a candidate that really isn't the right fit. Does that make sense?
Mike Rasmussen, it sounds like the pros, if anybody else wants to get in on this, please do. It sounds
Prep
like the pros don't, yeah?
Prep them.
Yeah? Go
now,
ahead.
Jerry might be a little different because I think go ahead.
RecruiterL.com, go ahead.
I think Jerry places a lot of contractors. So with Jerry, I agree with it. So he might not need to prep them too much. For me, internal, perm, higher level, it's just cover the bases, like Michael G. Cox said. Cover what was already discussed. Maybe if you know a couple of little things, you're not trying to game it or anything. You're just saying, hey, look, the guy absolutely hates the Raiders. Don't talk about the Raiders. That's it. Or remember, we're a team. You know, you talked about your team. You talked about this. You talked about this. Stay on those topics. Basic stuff. But the higher you go, the more prep you do. For executives, you may spend a good deal of time on it because they have to get past the search committee.
Okay, what's a good deal of time? Jerry said 3 minutes or something, right?
When I did executives for universities, I'd spend 45, 60 minutes on letting them know who's on the executive committee, because the committee who's picking the person isn't necessarily, while their manager will be in the committee, it's decision by committee, which is a nightmare. So you have to help them navigate that.
Okay, hold on a second. So you're going to tell the person who's going to interview them.
Thank you.
You don't
calling.
trust them to do research on those people online themselves. Is that what you're saying?
No, if they've done their research, that's fine. But if I've met the search committee,
Please
I kind of know a little bit more about them.
To connect your call.
Hold on, I got to press 1. Can you hear me?
Hey, press
yeah.
Can you hear me? What? They said press 1. Okay, I don't know what's going on.
Do you need to put in some quarters, Animal?
I guess so.
Please press
I guess
1.
they don't have this on Chad and Cheese. I don't know. I've never listened to that show. You know.
Now hold on a second. To be fair, 2 things about Chad and Cheese, Animal. Number 1, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But number 2, they drink a little too much on the show.
They drink on the show?
Whoa.
I'm joking. They joke around that they're having a port or an IPA or something. And I mean, I'm saying that from jealousy, but that's okay.
Yeah. IPA, that's
thank you
we
for
used
that
to have that here.
clarification.
That's a beer, right? It's a beer. It's an old beer. Okay.
It's a type of beer, yeah.
Okay, so we've got, Alan is saying that interview prep is important. You can spend an hour with the person. Jerry says 3 minutes. And he's primarily placing contract people, but he's hard to pin down. He says he places perm as well, and I think he would claim that he doesn't do any interview prep. Okay.
But also, Animal, it's all one big. It depends. If it works for Jerry and the market he serves, then it works.
Yeah, everything depends. I don't like that. I like black and white rules. Okay, everybody who has ever listened to the show knows that already.
Well, I have to agree with Alan because in a corporate setting, prepping a candidate is actually more advantageous than would be in an agency setting in many cases. That's just my opinion.
Okay, well, here's then a corporate setting, internal mobility, okay? In fact, you think about this while I do an ad, okay? If you placed a person in your company, you're a corporate recruiter, and you found out that after a few months she was applying for a move internally, touch with her and ask why she wasn't happy with the job you recruited her for. To think about that for a minute while I do an ad. I'm going to do these quickie ads, pcrecruiter.net. It is versatile. It's good for any kind of recruiting. Man, oh man, it's good for big teams. It's good for kitchen table recruiters if you're working in your mom's basement or something like that. pcrecruiter.net. Check it out. Hire Tool, HIRETUAL.com. Hire Tool. It's the... What? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I heard you. I was just saying, there you go, because you spelled it right. Good job.
Thank you. Hire Tool is the sourcing tool that everybody raves about on all the Facebook discussions about sourcing. And finally, Hone It, HONEIT.com. Hone It, HONEIT.com. It records your interview. You can create little there's some interference for some clips. You can create clips that you can send to the hiring manager. I'm getting confused. But the guy who was here, Mike Batman Cohn, he said it's transformed his relationship with hiring managers because he can send them the words, the voice of the candidate, him or herself. I'll get back to it. I'll advertise for them again. Going back to internal mobility. That was a bit verbose. I wanted to do a very brief ad, and I just got confused. Sorry, everybody. Okay, internal mobility. You place a candidate. A few months later, she's looking for a different job inside the company. Would you call her up, Mike, and say, hey, honey, what's wrong?
Well, I mean, You know, I've had situations where I've actually worked. It's interesting. I've had candidates who I work with that I'm the recruiter for internally, which is an interesting situation. And in those circumstances, you know, I see nothing wrong with them going internal. You know, if they're looking at an internal role, because many times that's what happens. I mean, it's just, you know, people will look internally, and you can't stop them.
Hold on. Hold on.
Their careers.
When they wait a sec. When they want to move internally, they come to a recruiter. They don't just apply to the hiring manager or to HR. They go to a recruiter internally. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's how it works with us in our company. Yep.
Oh, really? So you are deeply involved in internal mobility. Is that true?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so when you're talking to external candidates, you can actually tell them with a lot of confidence about the internal mobility situation in your company. Am I right about that?
And I actually use that as leverage to close the deal.
Oh, yeah? Give us an example. Tell us about that. Go ahead.
So we give them examples of how they can move within our company, and we just let them know that there's a time and service requirement. But once they hit that, if they're in good standing, then they can.
What's a time and what's a time and service requirement?
They just have to be enrolled per policy for a certain period of time. It's usually anywhere from a year to 18 months. It's part of they call it an internal mobility policy, is what they call it.
Okay, so if it was 6 months, if it was 6 months,
Very
and
common.
this new hire wanted to leave her role after 6 months, first of all, it's not possible at your company, but let's say it's a different company. Would you see a red flag there and try to, see if there was any problem? Would you take responsibility for it if you heard about it? Let's say she didn't have to come to you, okay? But someone in HR said, you know what? Your candidate, that new hire, she's already trying to move to another position. Would that pique your curiosity?
Oh, God.
It would. I'd be curious.
Hold on, wait a second. Sure. What do you mean, oh, God? RecruiterAl.com. What does that mean?
Is she number one? Is she unhappy? Number two, is she really driven and she found something else? Number three, is she being managed poorly in her department? It's not always about her.
Yeah, great point.
Well, that's my point, Al. And if you heard that your new hire from 6 months ago wants to move to another job, and I got this from Facebook, okay, would you make a point of phoning her up or going to her desk if she's in the same building and saying, is there anything wrong? I noticed you're interested in a move already. Don't you think you're a fit for your current position? What is it? How would you broach that? RecruiterAl.com.
I wouldn't call her unless she called me or somebody brought it up to me. Why would I? I mean, if she wants coaching, and she'll call me. But if she's looking for it, it's her right to look. If she knows what the company policy is, that's on her. Someone's going to have to remind her of it. But, I mean, if I hear that she's unhappy or if I hear there's an issue with her, I'll call her. But if she just wants to go try something, what's the problem?
Because it suggests, here's what the problem is, and this is what happened in the real case. She wasn't happy in her job. That's why she wanted to move.
I saw that post. I agree with what the guy did. When he said the recruiter did it instead of HR, what the hell's wrong with HR?
Yeah.
So in that case, I agree.
Well, you just said no. It's not my business. You said
why should I get
it's not my
involved?
job.
I hired them. I hired a good person. Shut the hell up and do your job, everybody else.
You lost me, okay?
Am I the person's babysitter for the rest of their career, or is that HR's job?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Fine, then tell me and I'll do it. But if somebody else internally is supposed to be, if it's their manager's job and HR's job and everybody else in the company to help make sure that Animal is doing well, and if he's doing well, and that someone sits him down and says, "Hey, dude, it's been 6 months. I get it. You're really doing a good job, but you got to cool your jets for about another 6 months." Or if Animal says, "You know what? I mean, this just isn't working out for me, and I love the company, but I got to find a new department or I got to start looking." Okay, I'll get involved if necessary.
Okay, we got your point of view. Okay, MikeRecruiter.com. Okay, you were internal most of your career. Okay, if you place somebody, you were at a company. Okay, well, if you place somebody and a few months later you find out that he's trying to move within the company, would you make that your business?
No. No,
No.
because it wasn't my responsibility. I brought the person in, and after, let's say, the first few weeks, I'm not that person's manager or director.
Right.
I'm not in that part of the org chart. Now,
you know what? I got to tell you guys something. If I was interviewing you for a corporate recruiting job, you guys would be out on your ass with an answer like that. It's not my job. Okay?
Absolutely. I am out on my ass now. So there you go.
Yeah, but you left on your own. I'll ask you about that.
Yeah.
That's another thing coming up. Mike Rasmussen, are you still with us?
I'm still here. I'm just listening.
I find you one of the nice things about when you come here, I find we have good roundtable conversations. That's why I'm bringing everybody else in, okay? There's not many other people, trust me, who put their hand up and say, I want to come back, okay? But it looks like your fourth time or something like that. Otherwise, hey, everybody, if you're listening this far, I'm always online begging people to be a guest. So, please, if you think we're having fun here, I'm having fun. If you think this is an ad for the Recruiting Animal Show. Be a guest. It's fun. This guy asks me to come back every 4 months, okay?
It's fun.
Okay.
I love it. I love this.
Good.
And you keep me on my toes, which makes it even funner.
Okay, I'll do an ad. HireTool, HireTool.com, the super duper sourcing tool. PCRecruiter.net, the recruiting software that's like a Swiss Army knife because it's so versatile and configurable, and they love you. They want to help you configure your software. Don't worry about doing it yourself, okay? They match their process to what you want. You don't match yourself to them, okay? And finally, Honeit, HONEIT.com, the online interview recording technology. Turn your interview into a live resume for the hiring manager, okay? HONEIT. Okay, but here, what would you do? The position's been open. This is another real case. Position's been open since October. You bring in a candidate. Your company has 5 interviews with this person. 7 people are involved, okay? Then they decide that the candidate's not strong enough, and it's not a CEO role. Everybody says it depends. And on Twitter, Kelly, Talent Talks, and say, recruiting animal, he's not mature. He doesn't know what depends means. Okay, this is not a leadership role. They've had 5 interviews, 7 people talk to this candidate, then they decide the candidate is not strong enough. What would you do, Mike Rasmussen, if that was you? You're the recruiter in that situation.
Get him, Mike.
Well, okay, in this situation, it's going to come down to one thing, and that's going to be you're going to have to find out the why. What was it they didn't like? Get all the facts.
Well hold on. Wait a second. No. Wait a second.
That's really the
First
key
of all,
factor there.
Well, okay, I would go crazy. I would be angry.
Yep.
I would say, why did it take 5 interviews to figure this out over a few months? Okay, wouldn't you be angry? Wouldn't that be your initial reaction?
Sure, it's annoying that they have that many interviews. I mean, that's you're
And
going to have to talk through that.
I'm pretty sure
and get
no
those
recruiter
managers
would be as annoyed as the candidate.
Well, that's the other thing. It's also a candidate experience issue. I mean, seriously. I mean, you have that many interviews as the candidate's going to be thinking to themselves, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to work here. These people are
you guys are overthinking this. You guys are overthinking this. Close the rack. Close the rack. Close the rack.
Really?
Recruiting doesn't work on it until you re-intake that, and you want to know why it's been open, and then when we find somebody, you wouldn't move forward because they weren't experienced. How the hell do you know? You don't know what you're looking for.
Okay, Alan.
I agree with that.
You sound, I like his tone. I want to know how you would put that into the exact words. Give us the word by word, play by play. When you find out they give you the word, this guy's not strong enough, find someone else. What would you do? Get the hiring manager on the phone and tell her, hey, something's wrong here.
Hold on. I'll do this for you.
Okay.
And you're the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Animal, after this rec has been open for 6 months, and due to the fact that we interviewed Mike Rasmussen the other day after searching for 6 months, period, your feedback was that he wasn't strong enough. at this moment in time to reallocate our recruiting team's time to best use. We're going to close this requisition and reopen it upon the completion of a complete intake meeting, including yourself, your manager, Michael G. Cox, and if possible, Michael's manager, Stephen Smith.
Hi, I'm Carmen Hudson. I'm the host of the Recruiting Book Club, and we're starting our second season. I'm so excited to bring to you another set of guests of recruiters who have written books. We are excited to have some very special guests this season. We've got Shally, we've got Craig Fisher, James Ellis, and quite a few other people that we're going to bring on board to tell us about what they wrote, why they wrote it, and maybe we'll veer off into a conversation about recruiting on all types of topics and subjects that happen in our industry. So I hope you can join us. I'm excited.
So you would phone her up and tell. You would phone me up and just tell me that as soon.
No, I would put it in an email, and I would CC Michael G. Cox and Stephen Smith to make sure that I'm not getting the finger pointed at me, because it's not my fault, it's yours.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And by the way, this is one of the reasons behind why time to fill is a BS metric to hold over a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jerry's back. Jerry, did you hear? Are you in on that problem? Have you heard the problem?
Yeah, I like
Jerry.
it. Yeah, I mean, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. 5 interviews, and they decide not to hire. Okay, 7 people talk to the candidate. Would you?
I like what Alan said. I mean, I'd probably say it a little bit different way.
Yeah.
But, I mean, clearly they've been able to do without this person for 6 months.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even sound like a job they really even need to fill anyway.
And also,
so are they just looking for somebody that's just like really just like cool that they wanted to add to the team or something, you know?
Right. Or do they want God for minimum wage, which doesn't exist? Or by closing the rec, that's the only leverage we have to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, maybe you can't. I mean, that's not you can't say you're running the company. I'm not going to work on this.
Is my team responsible for filling positions? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And my team needs to allocate their time, and I need to make sure their time is allocated correctly so that we're filling positions. I don't have upper management screaming, "Why aren't you guys filling positions?" Well, it's because Animal won't hire somebody. No, it's like, look, we're not going to work on this right now, whether we close it or whether we don't. It is not getting any more attention until here's what we do, because because obviously there's a disconnect someplace.
Okay, well, hold on. Would you tell them, though, there's no way the hiring process is going to stay the same? Something's got to change. 5 interviews to make up your mind? Come on.
Yeah,
I've said
it.
And what happened?
To Jerry's point, from an agency perspective, I've fired clients over that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I won't work with them. Why work with them if they're never going to do anything or hire somebody and they keep stringing you along? Do they really want to hire?
Hold on a second. They did put a lot of time into it themselves. It's not like that they are investing in it as well, right?
They who? Okay. They who? You as the hiring manager?
No, they had 5 people take their time off to interview this candidate.
So what? A lot of people will say, yes, I'll go do an interview. I don't need to work on my reporting, my real work.
Yeah, they're not valuing their time as much, maybe.
Yeah.
You want to get results in that situation, Animal. Have the authority, which I did at one company, have the authority to fire a hiring manager from receiving recruiting support. You want to see the phone ring or the email come back within 5 minutes every time that happens, and then they get on board and start doing things right. Do that. Or if you can't, close the rec.
Okay. Are you in agreement with recruiterl.com, MikeRecruiter.com?
What? Yeah. I've closed recs. I've had conversations where, I mean, the fact is that if you invite somebody back, then certain, and I'm speaking from my time when I was on the corporate side. When you invite somebody back, you've already checked off certain boxes. Clearly, this person is qualified. Mm-hmm. And so maybe in this example that you're mentioning, when they said after 5 interviews, this person isn't qualified, they're probably not giving you the right feedback, and you're really getting the brush off. So you need to recalibrate this search entirely, and until then, we're going to put this on hold, or we're going to close the rec, or however you want to state it.
Oh, well, you guys are much tougher. You're much tougher than I would have imagined. You have the leeway to be inside an organization. Okay. So
let me throw that out there too. I'm going to agree with this, because anytime you get in a situation where the hiring manager is really flaky, and they're not really they're not really telling you what they want, and they take, if you've sent them like 10 candidates and they've rejected every single one, that manager does not know what they want, and you're going to have to talk through that a little bit more. And until they get their act together, it's really a waste of your time and their time.
You sound so friendly, Mike. I don't know how you put your foot down. I can't imagine it. And even Jerry, I know Jerry, he talks tough, but I don't think he gets tough with these guys, okay? I think he'll...
Oh, you know what? I've had to get tough on several occasions, So
yeah? Okay.
There's several levers you can pull to pull things, rein it back in and bring it where it needs to go.
Mike Recruiter, were you saying something? MikeRecruiter.com?
No, I was just going to say you don't have to come across as a jerk, or you don't have to be mean, but you are controlling a certain big chunk of this recruiting process. And if it's not working, it is to the detriment of the organization. And if the individual hiring managers or hiring team or panel can't get their stuff straight, then that needs to change. And if they won't fall in line, then a recruiter or recruiting manager needs to have the authority to go up and speak to higher ups and say, hey, this isn't working. And again, to the detriment of the team or the organization.
Because like Mike Rasmussen said about candidate experience, you might start getting reports on Glassdoor about this. Mike, would that be true? Or Mike Rasmussen? Is that an issue for you?
Oh, yeah. I could see that happening. Absolutely, yeah. Once the candidate's had a bad experience, they're going to spread it all over the place. I mean,
It's good that Jerry signed off again.
And,
yeah, it's good that Jerry signed off again, because he wouldn't like this next question. Okay, first of all, I want to note something that RecruiterAl.com said. He said, put it in an email. I think MikeRecruiter.com said that as well. Our good friend Amy Miller always says, keep it in writing, okay? Because you want to have proof of what was done. You always have something you could track. No, nothing just in words. Always in writing, okay? But I had a dispute with Amy this week. She was complaining about Mike Rasmussen about mansplaining, okay? Like it's all over the place. I said I never see it, okay? And I said maybe I live in a bubble. Okay, she got mad at me. Mike Rasmussen, do you see mansplaining? And I'll define the term for you. It's when men explain things to women as if they're little dumb kids who can't understand something on their own. Do you see that, Mike, in real life?
Oh, heck yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah?
It's
a real issue.
It's also re-explaining, something like if someone makes a great point and then for some reason you find it necessary to re-explain it in different terms and say the same damn thing.
Right. And the problem with that is it's very arrogant, and you have to be extra careful of that. I think, there's some very, very capable women recruiters out there, and I'm sure they feel it. I totally empathize with what they go through.
Hold on. Mike Rasmussen.
Amy's a good friend of mine. I agree that it's out there and it's a real issue.
Yeah, but hold on. Mike Rasmussen, okay, you're saying, yeah, I agree it's out there. Have you ever seen it? That's what I'm asking you, okay?
Oh, yeah, I totally have. I've definitely
Okay, give me one example. Give me an example. I don't see it. Okay, give me an example.
Animal, where are you?
Are
you currently doing some searches right now?
Hold on a second.
Me?
Alan, you give me an example. That's all I'm asking for.
I will give you
Can you remember a time when it happened?
I will gladly give you an example.
Experience?
I will gladly give you an example. I had a male manager who was interviewing a female candidate, and I talked to the female candidate. I usually we do what I call post-interview debriefs, where I get feedback from the candidate, and she was explaining that this particular male manager had been really, really, he said, well, I don't think you totally understand this. That's what he said to her. And he goes, well, Actually, she said to him, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, I do understand it. And he goes, well, actually, and he was being really arrogant towards her, and really, making it, it was just really sexist. And so,
okay, let me ask you a follow-up.
I had to get HR involved and actually combat that.
Okay, how often does that happen?
We had to coach that manager.
How often did that happen in 2019?
How often? I probably saw it once or twice at least.
Well, maybe twice, but for sure once in a year.
Yeah.
Okay, once in a year. Okay, are you listening to me? Am I talking loud enough? That's not all over the place. That's a rare experience. That's a rare occasion.
It's still bad.
That's a rare report of an experience. It may be happening more.
It could happen more than that, Animal. Absolutely right. It might be happening more than we even realize. We can't deceive ourselves and say it doesn't happen.
But you got no proof. Oh, you got no proof.
What do you want? You want tape recordings?
I didn't ask for it. He got a report from the candidate, Al. Have you ever seen it? Have you ever had anyone say, look, I went out to your hiring manager and he tried to belittle me? Okay?
Yeah,
Alan,
I've sat in on interviews and seen it.
Give me an example. Can you remember one of them?
Architecture firm sitting with an experienced, well-respected candidate. Male interviewer starts to describe, well, here's what we do. She goes, I've been in the industry about 15 years. I've competed against you. I know what you do, and I know the work and the quality of work you do. By the way, you guys didn't get this mall job. We got it, and I did it.
Okay. Now, would that never happen with a male candidate, Alan? Is that what you're saying?
It indicates a certain level of comfort of bias, usually, whether known or unknown to the person saying it. And
you're
it still
usually
exists.
kind of direct. I don't understand what you're saying. Would that ever happen with a male candidate? I got to tell you, people talk down to me. People talk down to me. You can hear it on this show every week, okay? I don't go around saying, hey, somebody's mansplaining to me.
It's a real issue. Unconscious bias definitely exists. It's not something to make light of. It definitely is out there.
But yes, they'll do it. They will do it. They will do it. Men will do it to women. Men will do it to men if they feel threatened by the candidate. If they think the candidate's better, they'll try and knock them down a little bit just because they're scared of them.
Okay, so you've got one. Mike's got one, Mike Rasmussen. What about MikeRecruiter.com? You're in their camp. You're agreeing that it's all over the place. How many experiences with it did you have that you know of in 2019?
No, nothing's going to come to mind off the top of my head.
Okay. You know what? There's an example with this behavioral interview. Oh, can you remember a time? Okay, I can't remember anything. Okay, on the spur of the moment. Okay, I'm going to do an ad.
Well, the danger with that,
the answer is it depends.
Do you remember 8?
Well, you know what? Daniel Chait was on a couple of years ago. He said, look, if they're really doing it a lot, they'll remember. If you're asking if and they only did it one time, they won't remember. But what you're looking for is something that they've done 1 million times. They'll be able to recall a time. Okay, I don't know if that's true, but he seemed like a smart guy to me. He said he was willing to come on again. Listen to this story. And then the communication, people say bad things about me on Twitter every now and again, and I always look to see who likes those tweets. Who likes those tweets? And his communication manager liked everything bad that was said about me. And then I asked him if he wanted to come on again. He said, no, thanks.
Animal, do you need us to remind you and give you a hug and remind you that we love you so much and that's why we're here?
No, I'm fine. I'm used to it. I can take it. If someone wants to mansplain me, it's not an assault to my identity. But I got to tell you, I have to advertise, okay? HIRETUAL.com. It's the super duper sourcing tool. If there's a discussion about sourcing tools on Facebook, the top recruiters, like Amy, we just mentioned, they're yelling about it from the rooftops. There's other good tools as well, but, man, this is one of the best. Honeit, HONEIT.com. It records your interviews, and you can divide the interview very easily into little clips. You could send it to the hiring manager. Hey, you want to hear the candidate describe what she's doing in her own words? Man, send that sizzle. The live words themselves, and PCRecruiter.net. The Swiss Army knife of recruiting software. I have to come up with a better analogy than that, but the CEO of the company, that's what he uses. He wants to tell you it's very versatile. PCRecruiter.net. You know what? I got to tell you, after that woman told me that I don't have enough listeners for her to advertise on this show, I think I should go back to my current sponsors and warn them about that, even though I haven't billed them for over a year. I think I should let them know. Maybe they should reconsider, okay? But I will charge them when they leave. Okay, here's something interesting, Mike Rasmussen. Still with me? I've been rambling. Okay. I read, Matt Iglesias, the political commentator. You ever heard of him? He said, he's very popular. He said student debt is not an issue. Like he didn't say it. No, what I gathered from what he said, student debt is not an issue in hiring young people. I've heard that it was. Here's what he said. He said the median American under the age of 30 has $0 in student loan debt, and that's because most people don't attend expensive higher education institutions. Then not everyone's going to Harvard or Columbia and, working up a debt of $60,000 a year or something like that. So when you're hiring them, that's not something they're taking into consideration. I had read that it is a big problem with hiring. What's your experience, Mike? Do you know anything about hiring fresh grads and their debt problems and things like that?
Yeah, it can be an issue. I mean, especially when this generation, that newer generation just coming up and getting ready to graduate does have. I saw a statistic the other day that it's like almost 50% or something like that.
Matt
that has
Iglesias, didn't you hear me? I don't think you're talking from your personal experience. It sounds like, it's just like mansplaining. Oh, yeah, it's all over. Okay, Matt Iglesias said most Americans don't have student loan debt. Most students don't have any debt because they're not going to expensive schools. Okay, let's move on. Okay,
what is he basing that on? It doesn't sound true to me.
No.
What's that?
Okay. I don't know.
It sounds like BS. And I would like to see what studies he has cited in his opinion to back that up, or is it just an opinion? And in regards to that and how it affects a job search, I mean, is it the responsibility of the organization to adjust my compensation based on my debt or on the size of my mortgage that I decided to take out? Or is
if they want to attract you,
yeah,
just like they have to take into consideration the different property or rental rates in different cities. They're going to have to pay you more to work in New York than they will in Denver or Tulsa or someplace.
But yes, that's based on geography. That's based on demographics. That's not based on an individual person, though. Like we wouldn't be able to pay more on a base salary because the candidate in front of us says, by the way, I owe $100,000 on my history degree.
Yeah. Mike, smarten up, okay? If 90%, like you guys are trying to say, of the fresh grads have these kind of loan debts, okay, then you're going to have to take them into consideration because that's what they're going to have to. Their basic burn rate is going to be, fairly high, and you're going to have to be able to meet that. Otherwise, you won't be able to attract them. Okay, it's a real life.
Yeah, well, we haven't had to in the past 8-9 years. That didn't have an effect on recruiting where I was at previously.
How do you know? How do you know who set the salary?
Because we didn't adjust based on a person's. Hey, Mr. CEO, what I'm seeing is we have a lot of students that have a lot of student debt. Let's up, what we're paying. It was based more on market research and what all of our competitors were doing, and maybe we should adjust this. And we ended up adjusting guarantees, non-recoverable guarantees on commissions, and something on the base salary. But it had more to do with the research that we conducted on the talent competition that we had out there.
Let me move on, Mike. I got a question.
I got
a question. The show's almost over. I got a question that's very pertinent to you. Okay. Okay, Mike Rasmussen, though, is the guest, so I'm going to put it to him first. You still with me, Mike Rasmussen?
I'm still here.
Yeah, okay, just got to check, okay. A candidate just made a move. You call him up anyway. You see, he's been there. I made a big mistake once, a senior position. I got this is before LinkedIn, before it was easy to get the names. But this guy, I got his name, and I saw that he was at this company less than a year. And I didn't call him because of that, or about a year. I didn't call him because of that reason. He got the job, okay? Somebody else recruited him. Okay, that was really painful. Okay, so let's say you see somebody, you phone them up, and you're recruiting them, and but you have to ask him. And he says, sure, I'll take a look at this position. You're going to ask him why he would be interested after. This is another real-life situation. After only 5 months on a job, okay? And he says he said nearly 5 months in, this is what I read, he had realized that this is not going to happen, that he's not going to get the salary they offered, the commissions, the perks. The company and the ownership are not what they seemed. They are deceitful and shifty. So he wants to move, and he tells you those are the reasons. You know, he was made a lot of promises, nothing's coming through. Is that going to be a big concern for you? Would you trust him, or what will you do with that information?
Hey, it's Bob Pulver, host of You Podcast. Human-centric AI, AI-driven transformation, hiring for skills and potential, dynamic workforce ecosystems, responsible innovation. These are some of the themes my expert guests and I chat about, and we certainly geek out on the details. Nothing too technical. I hope you check it out.
What I would do is qualify it a bit more. You can get a ton of information on the company and do some initial research to see if,
really. How could you get?
There's any red flags.
How could you get? How could you get that kind of information? They make promises that they don't keep. Okay,
well,
they're
honestly,
shifty.
If you look at the website, you might see some financial information. You might find some other info. I would still do the research to double check it and see if I can find some verifying info. But if I can't, then, if the candidate wants to go forward and they're qualified, yeah, sure, I'd put them forward.
Okay, and your hiring manager wouldn't say, hey, Mike, this guy just took another job. So you're giving him to me? He's not stable. Something's wrong with him. What would you say?
Well, if it's a competitor candidate, the hiring manager might take that into consideration, especially if they know what's going on at that company.
Well, see, I like the way you guys do it. He's from a competitor, and that makes it, that the hiring manager is going to know a lot. He's got the context. I'm saying when they don't have the context. I'm saying when they don't have the context, let's move to.
If they don't have the context, then I would certainly leave that up to the hiring manager if they want to proceed or not. That's entirely their call.
Okay, you wouldn't advise? I never had those questions.
I would advise.
Advising.
I would say if this is a candidate that seems like they're qualified and they seem to be a good fit and everything else seems to check out for the most part, they'll interview them and see, ask some key questions in the interview phase to get more information. Sure, I think. Okay, so
you would push and say, look, okay, hold on, I want to go to Michael G. Cox because he had this experience.
Oh crap!
Would you mind talking about it, Michael G. Cox? Are you okay? Yeah, are you okay?
Sure. Yeah. What's up? But what are you talking about? No.
Okay, you took a position, a promotion, and it didn't turn out to be what you wanted it to be. So you left, okay?
Yep.
What if you had didn't want to go on your own, and you can find him at MikeRecruiter.com, by the way, great sales recruiter. And if you had wanted to go to another company, and it showed that you had just had a promotion 5 months before or something like that, or you just made a move 5 months before, what would you tell the recruiter to make her trust you that that you're not flaky?
Yeah, I think I'm at a point in my career where I wouldn't try and spin anything. I'd be very honest and say, I moved into this job. I was leading sales recruiters across the United States for Xerox Business Solutions. Things were going very well on the recruiter side, and we were seeing some positive movement forward. But I was having difficulties, senior leadership that was above me, and we just didn't see eye to eye with regard to the recruiting style that I have and the recruiting that they had in mind. And so it was a pretty significant mismatch, and as time went by, that kept getting more and more painfully obvious.
Okay, so there was only a short time that had gone by. I didn't want you to mention your company or anything. I don't like that. But okay,
fine.
But would the recruiter, would she have a reason to trust you or to think that you're flaky? That's my you're blaming sort of the leadership. How does she know it's just not you?
Yeah, she doesn't. We have to have a conversation to determine that. And if we're having an open and honest conversation, again, it's difficult to judge that. But if you have this conversation maybe 2 times and things sound like they make sense, and you get some of the backstory, then maybe.
So
it does
you're
make
telling,
sense.
okay, Mike Rasmussen. I want to. There's 2 minutes left. I just want to. We'll come back to this another time. It's really interesting to me. But Mike Rasmussen. It sounds like Michael G. Cox is saying, in the end, it's sort of a gut feel of the candidate is going to make a big difference here. You have a feeling about the person, not just the story they're telling you. Does that sound like what he's saying, Mike Rasmussen? That's the basis to move forward on, your gut feel. You tell the hiring manager, I like this person. I personally believe him. Trust my feeling. Trust me on this. Is that the deciding factor?
Yeah, I would go with your instinct whenever you can. I mean, there's many times I'd want to quantify it or get as much info as I can find from my own research, of course, but I would, in the end, go with my instinct. Yes.
Instinct?
Because if I provided reference checks, if I provided references and said, look, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face about my side of it. How about you have a conversation with these 3 individuals that could maybe shed light on it? Even doing
that's
that,
good, but that's not always possible.
That's
not always possible. Alan, recruiteral.com, still there? Nope.
Yeah, I'm here, but sorry, I got to take a pass on this one. I was
okay.
looking at an offer.
It's the end of the show anyway. I was just asking you to say yes or no. I'm going to thank everybody, including recruiteral.com, MikeRecruiter.com. Check him out. Great sales recruiter, okay? He's been on the show for years.
Thanks, everybody. Great show.
MR Recruits. MR_Recruits is my new Twitter handle.
MR_Recruits. Okay, and Mike Rasmussen, we'll book you for another 4 months from now, okay? And Jerry, don't forget Jerry, therecruiter.com. Thank you! You've got a baby face. I don't know if anybody's looking at the website on recruitingshow.com, but you have a little very young man's face. Has that been good for you or bad for you in business?
I guess good and bad. I don't know.
No.
And you know what, Barbara? If you want to fight with me, we can do this offline. But we're not doing it on this show.
If you want to take it personal, feel free.
I'll take you on. I will take you on.
We're not even talking about you at all. We're talking about animals. So if you want to take it personal, feel free. I'm not even personally attacking you.
I'm not taking it personal. Quit screaming, you little baby.
Something is not right.